Well, hello and welcome. This is Bug Eater 64, and today we're getting ready to do an FSAirlines flight using the X-Hangar module of the Lockheed C-130 Hercules. And we're going to be going from Victorville, California to Dallas Fort Worth International. So it's a little over 1,000 miles. And so it's going to take about 4 hours, but we're going to get her done. And, it looks like we're going to have weather pretty much all the way. So with that, let's get inside the aircraft, let's get things started and see how things go. Now, this is going to be my first flight in the latest update of X-Plane 12, which is 12.0.9, plus the fact that my rudder pedals, my Thrustmaster rudder pedals, have broken and are not working quite right. They're really not working much at all. But what can I say? They just don't make things to last anymore. These have done their job and done it well for 4.5 years. So, you know, I can't complain. Anyway, we're going to give this flight a try, and so we'll catch you inside. See you there. Okay, so here we are at Victorville, and you can see the weather is not pretty. And this is our C-130. We're going to be taking her, and hopefully, even with the rudder pedal issues, hopefully we'll be able to get to Dallas Fort Worth without too much issue. So we're going to go ahead and get things started here. Our flight, we should start out with a tailwind, which will be really helpful, but that may change once we get closer to Dallas Fort Worth. We'll see how we go. We may end up with a headwind, but let's get FSAirlines set up here. Block fuel said about 23,000 pounds. In-flight fuel mentioned something, working it out, was a little under 15,000 pounds, but we'll see how that goes. The aircraft right now, we've just filled it. It was not fueled when we got in, so it is ready to go now. And so we've got our flight started. Now, let's think about getting this airplane going. So first things first, let's get the battery on. And once that's done, we can go ahead and start the APU. As I said in the opening, this is not the most high fidelity module in X-Plane, but I like it. A lot of the systems work, so I you know, for what this aircraft is, I like it. I think it works very well, and for me, it's a lot of fun to fly. So we'll go ahead. We got the APU going now. So we've got all the power we need to get this girl operating and get her ready to go. Make sure all our fuel system is ready. I made the mistake the other day in when I was looking at this, because it's been so long since I flew her, that I flipped all the top switches there, you see. Well, I didn't read the bottom, and they were all dumped. So when I got ready to start the aircraft, she was out of fuel, because I had dumped it all onto the tarmac. Alright, so let's get a few lights on so people know what we're doing here. We'll wait to put the taxi on. Temperatures are cool today, so we will make sure she stays warm. Let's get our avionics on so we can see what's happening as we flip switches and do things. And so that we can set up this FMC and get her going. There you can see X-plane is 12.0.9. Okay, and with that, let's clear the out-of-date data situation, because I know it's out of date, but that's alright. I don't need it that bad. Okay, we've already got a flight plan in here, so let's go ahead and click on that. So we've got from Victorville to Dallas Fort Worth, and we'll be taking off from runway 17. Okay, we don't have a landing runway yet because I don't know what the winds are going to be when we get there. That's a few hours away, so we'll get rid of that unknown and replace it with Buttes. There we go. Alright, and look at that. Okay, so with that we can execute, and our flight plan is ready to go at this point. Like I was saying about the landing, we'll take care of that in flight. About when we get closer, we'll know what runway we're going to be landing on. I'm guessing it's probably going to be 36 right, but with the weather report for today, we are going to have rain almost all the way there, and we're going to be flying at 10,000 feet. So we'll see how all that goes. Get rid of this information up there. Every time I fly out of Victorville in X-plane, it comes up with that information about KWJF, which is close by, and about the scenery there, and I'm like, I don't care, I'm not there. Alright, so with that, flight plan is ready to go. Aircraft looks pretty much set up. Let's go ahead and start engines. Fuel pumps are on. And engine 1 is up and running. Just wait a few seconds for it to stabilize. And turn on our fuel panel, telling us what our fuel systems are at. We've got plenty of fuel, so I'm not worried about that. Alright, fuel pumps on. Starting engine 2. And we'll go ahead and throw on our taxi lights. Just for a moment, we're already picking up rain. Okay, let's go with engine 3. First 3 engines are looking stable enough to start the last one. Engine number 4, here we go. Alright. So we've got 4 good engine starts. Double check our map here. You can see where we are at Victorville. And right towards the top there is where runway 17 is, and we're going to go about halfway up and get onto the runway. We don't need a lot of runway for takeoff, so there's no sense in going all the way to the end. So looking at everything, we're looking pretty good. Engines are running well. Turn those taxi lights back on. Don't know what I was thinking. Alright, so looks like that's looking good. So we're going to taxi down. When we get to the hold short for the runway 17, we'll double check everything. Get our mixture up, and we'll get ready to taxi here. Now it's a long taxi, so what we're going to do is when we get up here, I'm going to speed things up. Oh, the weather's looking absolutely horrendous today. So we're going to cross runway 3. So let's get down to the hold short and bouncy with head tracking. We're going to turn that off here. There we go. Now we can probably watch the rudders. Okay, so navigation is set up. So it'll be following the FMC. Altitude set for 10,000 feet. Vertical speed set for plus 500 a minute. Airspeed set at 230 approximately. It won't follow that, you know, but I do that for my reference more than anything else. And as we pull up here to the hold short line for runway 17, we'll double check everything. We've got our flaps set for takeoff right now at 20. Park and brake on. Landing lights coming on. Check everything. Gauges are look good. Engines look good. Yep, we're gonna right now we've got headway, so we're gonna have a crosswind for takeoff. Okay, so okay, looks like we're about to go. Parking brake is off. Add some power here. Get us moving. This is what's going to be tricky, just the takeoff. Let's go. Nice and easy. I'm going to do a rolling takeoff, so I'm not going to come to a complete stop since we're don't have as much runway as normal, because I cut it off about halfway, which is more than enough for this aircraft. But here we go. And yeah, the rudders are really a little tricky here. Hang on. Yep, and let's rotate. Gear coming up. We'll gain a little bit of altitude before we hit the autopilot. That's all looking good. Lots and lots of moisture in the air. Okay. Okay, a little over 4,000 feet. And rain. Alright, let's put autopilot to lock and get the vertical speed. There we go. So we'll be climbing at 500 feet a minute, up to 10,000 feet. We'll watch our throttles. We'll be taking care of them manually. Slow her down some. And since we're up, and we'll speed things up here so we can get to our landing. Remember, this flight was going to be 4 hours long, and so just about 4 hours, a little more, and we're descended down to 2,900 feet, continuing our descent to about 2,000. Right now we're holding at 3,000. We're going to descend to 2,000 when we get to our turn on approach. But the flight has gone very well, all things considered. Autopilot has worked fine. Right now we're into a headwind, which I was kind of afraid of coming into Texas with the weather reports, but that's fine. So we will be landing on runway 36 right. So far everything has worked fine. Yeah, we've got about 29 miles till the turn. Check the map, and there is Dallas Fort Worth. Yep. So wind coming from So we took off in the afternoon, and right now it's probably just after 6 o'clock. But the weather is horrible. You can see the clouds on the weather radar screen. It was green like that almost the entire flight. Alright, so we'll get ready to do our descend down. Vertical speed, and she will start to descend, and we'll just watch our throttles. Everything is looking very nice as we prepare for the hardest part of this entire flight, the landing. Especially with sketchy rudders. at 128 at 11 miles per hour. So that's not too bad. But I must say the city lights at this time of afternoon do look quite pretty. Okay, we're at 2,400 feet. Yeah, the runway's going to be over there. Alrighty, let's see. 2,500 feet. We'll make the turn, and that'll bring us to, then we'll start our descent on final, on approach, and get lined up to land on runway 36 right. Excellent fun flying this aircraft because she's relatively simple, very stable, which the C-130 is. You know, big wings, plenty of power. Which sometimes gives her a tendency of wanting to float and not land, but you know. Sometimes I have to argue with her. Now this is the best working version of a C-130 in either Microsoft Flight Simulation or X-Plane 12. But the best module that I found for flight simming for a C-130 is in Digital Combat Simulator, DCS. They've got a version that is very nice. Great fun to fly, just like this one. Alright, so turning on to final approach. Speed is good. And the airfield is directly ahead of us. Okay, so There's the runways. Landing gear coming down. Hey Sim, I said landing gear coming down. I am not going too fast. It's not an airspeed issue. Why isn't my landing gear cycling? Okay, good thing I'm flying the C-130. We'll try to get this down, up and down here. Again, it's not happening. Okay. Disengage. Autopilot aircraft is mine. We're gonna have to slide it in, belly land it. This is interesting. I have no idea why this happened. To be honest, it's probably something I forgot, because it's been so long since I flew this bird. Something I was probably supposed to do and didn't do. Now I've tried to recycle the landing gear 3 different times in my HOTAS, but you can see I've still got 3 red lights. Landing gear is not down. Alright. We can do this. The thing that's great about the C-130, it's got a very flat and wide bottom. So if I can keep the wings fairly level, then we should be okay. Alright, so here we are, lining up. Slow her down some more. Feet, 300. Let her settle. Let her. Oh, she's floating. No problem. Landing gear's coming down. I heard it. Oh, yeah. It just drove my nose into the ground. Okay, let's reverse them. See if we can keep it on the runway here. Say, wings work just fine with no landing gear, but the mains were down. The nose gear collapsed, of course, because it got slammed before it could get down. All right, so we're going to end up leaving her right here. Well, welcome to Dallas Fort Worth. Not my best landing. Well, flight completed. Don't know exactly what happened at the end there with the landing. The flight went really well. Of course, the takeoff was kind of squirrely. Like I said, I got this problem with my rudder pedals. I'm still working on it. See if I can get them to work well enough to keep flying until I swap with a newer pair. But, you know, they're enough I can get the job done. So the takeoff was kind of squirrely. The flight went well. As you can tell, this is not the most high fidelity module for X-Hangar C-130, but it works and it's fun to fly, and that's what this is all about for me, is just having fun and making videos so that you people can have something to enjoy, and I hope you do. That being said, the landing, I recycled. I don't know what was going on with that. Couldn't get the landing gear to come down, so I prepared to make a belly landing. I was going to put her down. This is a C-130. She can do that better than a lot of aircraft. Because when I touch down, my wings, as long as I can keep them fairly level, the engine's nacelle will never touch, and we'll just slide down the runway, which pretty much we were going to do, except just before touchdown, as I got over the threshold of the runway and trying to set her down, she floated some, and then the landing gear started coming down as I was getting to touch, and that kind of pushed my nose down towards the runway, and as you saw, we hit nose first, collapsed to the nose gear. The main gear did extend, but as you saw in the cockpit, I never had a green light for landing gear, and the alarms were going off, but we landed, and we landed safe. So, and that's all that mattered. We got credit for the safe flight. Our landing touchdown was unfortunately hard. It was minus 700, and that is not acceptable and not good. But that being said, the flight completed, everything done. Weather sucked. We had rain almost all the way there, as you could easily see. So with that, flight completed, everything done, and we'll get ready for the next time. So with that, hope you enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun bringing it to you, as always. So with that, this is Bug Eater 64, and remember, as always, do as I say, not as I do. But remember, safe flying.